tea time. Okay, we got 229 people in here. Grab your tea, your water, whatever is your beverage of choice. Right now, I have a glass of water because I don't have any tea. So, I'm going to have to declutter some tea because none of it's fitting to drink, just so you know. Anyway, you know, the other day I was telling you that I loved earthquakes, and people made fun of me about loving earthquakes. Well, it's more like a hobby, the study of earthquakes, because I grew up in earthquake country. I grew up on Reelfoot Lake, which was formed by an earthquake, a huge earthquake in 1811 and 1812. And it was, it dropped the bottom out of a forest and the Mississippi River flowed in. Well, when I got off the show a while ago, I got a message from little Miss Esther in Tanzania. They had had an earthquake. She didn't know what it was. She didn't know if it was an explosion. It had just happened, and she was just beside herself. She didn't know what to do, but I knew what to do. I told her that she needed to get outside, and she didn't really want to go outside because they have mosquitoes really bad there, and she didn't want to go outside. So I've told her if there's another quake that they need to get under tables, standing into doorways. It's 6 of them. And so she's gathered up their passports. This was her. She did this. She gathered up her passports, she and the children, because they're getting ready to immigrate. They've been on the list to immigrate for 10 years. They've been going through the process to immigrate into this country. All her family is here, except for one sister. And they're all here. And she's you know, one of 2 that are in Tanzania. So she's excited to immigrate. And she just didn't want to lose her passports. So she grabbed her passports, put them in her backpack. Her backpack is handy, and all 6 of them are on her bed, resting, sleeping. And it's a good thing there's a bunch of little ones. But she contacted me with the earthquake information. Well, she contacted me that there had been a bad shaking. She almost fell over, almost fell on the baby. And I looked it up on my earthquake site, and there was no earthquake there. It took them 15 minutes to list it. And it was a 6 point. It was 5.9, and they upgraded it to 6 point. And then she had another aftershock. So, and the power went out. And I said, Esther, honey, you have to turn your phone off because you have no way to charge your phone. You have to charge your phone. Keep your phone, what little bit of charge you have to keep it safe. So she was turning her phone off, and she's going to contact me by about 11 o'clock tonight in 8 hours. So folks, keep Esther and the people in Tanzania in your prayers. We had a quake here, 5.1 on Sunday. I didn't feel it, but a lot of people did, and they can be scary things. A 6 is pretty big. Now, I did look for tsunami warnings because she lives right on the coast of the Indian Ocean. And I was concerned there might be a tsunami, but she's about 2 miles inland. So I think she would be good in case there was a tsunami. So are you prepared for an earthquake? Do you even know if you live in an earthquake zone? I know people in California are familiar with them. People in West Tennessee are familiar with earthquakes. People in Missouri are familiar with earthquakes. But pretty much the rest of the country, nobody knows what they are. Charleston's had a big earthquake in 1888. It was huge. So Hawaii has earthquakes, but they have volcanic activity too. So know where you live. Know if there's emergencies, like if there is a nuclear power plant close to you. Patty lives close to a nuclear power plant. Her ex-husband used to work at that. He retired. He used to work at that power plant. And he was security. So know where you live. We talk about hurricanes all the time, but we rarely talk about what to do in an earthquake. Seattle, yeah, they are in a subduction zone in Seattle. Know your geology. Portland too. The plate goes underneath the North Atlantic plate, and then it goes down, and as it's going down, that's where you have quakes. So know where you are. Know what could be a problem. You know, there could be a problem with a nuclear power plant, especially in an earthquake. Know about tornadoes. You can have alerts set up on your phone. People are talking about that right now. East Tennessee has a seismic zone too. I knew the quake on Sunday was in the East Tennessee seismic zone because I've actually had a seismologist from the University of Tennessee speak to a class I was volunteering in. And he was full of a lot of wonderful information. Because if we had a big quake here in Transylvania County, the first thing to fall would be our courthouse. Because it is 150 years old and it is not structurally sound to withstand an earthquake. Most buildings aren't, y'all. Most buildings aren't. So getting in doorways, getting outside. Do you have an earthquake kit? I used to keep a boat tied up to my front porch when I lived in Lake County. Yeah, I used to keep a boat tied up to my front. Why? Because of something called liquefaction. If you've ever been at the beach and you've had a bucket of sand and you shake this sand and you see water come to the top of the sand, that's liquefaction. Because anything sitting on top of that sand is going to sink down in that sand as if it were quicksand. So knowing a little bit about what's going on with an earthquake, with a hurricane, with a tornado, these are all things we need to know. Because where I lived in Lake County was right on an isthmus of Kentucky Bend. It was a mile across, and the farm was right on the Tennessee-Kentucky state line. And if, in the event, there was a bad earthquake, the river could cut through right where my house was. And I might have to ride the wave. I'm telling you, I might have to ride the wave. And a seismologist told me to do this. He said, if I lived up here, I would have a boat. This seismologist came to speak to a class at Justin's high school. He said, I'd have a boat right here. Just right here. So folks, knowing a little bit, not loving earthquakes, so to speak, but knowing, getting a little information in your head is going to prepare you for a tornado, a hurricane, a nuclear disaster, flooding. Know where the roads flood. Leanne has been looking at houses all over this county. I know where everything is. I know where the waters flood. I've seen things underwater that you wouldn't believe, that you wouldn't think. I've seen Cedar Mountain, which is on top of a mountain, underwater. So you don't think about a high mountain area flooding, but it can because it's a high mountain plateau and it takes a while for the water to run off of it. So I have seen this. And you just have to have a plan. The plan is always keep your phones, like you're keeping your car full of gas, half tank, always fill it up at a half a tank. Keep your car filled up with gas. No, we hadn't found a house yet. She's still looking. We've come up with lots of options. But with COVID, everything, the prices have jumped up a couple $100,000, and it's kind of stupid to buy a house right now. But a lot of people are selling houses. So when you've lived through earthquakes, I mean, one time I was on the phone with somebody in Tiptonville, and I live 10 miles north of town. I heard the earthquake. I heard her say, the earth is shaking, and then 4 seconds later, I felt it. So knowing what to do, being prepared with an emergency kit to be able to grab and go, or have it in your car. Have an emergency kit in your car in case you get stuck in snow. So these are all little things that are going to keep you calm. Keep you calm in the face of an emergency. And help you get the heck out of there if you need to. But always remember, do not drive through high water. That is so dangerous to drive through high water. The water is moving, and it can lift the car up. So folks, have a plan of action. Have an emergency control journal. I haven't even told Esther about an emergency control journal. But you know, that young lady knew what was important to her. Keeping her baby safe and keeping those passports close by, because those passports were going to be hard to replace in the event that she got the call that she could fly to the United States and that she had her paperwork ready to go. So folks, yeah, we had an emergency this year with COVID. We did. I didn't run out of toilet paper. But I know people who were down to one roll before they found any. Yeah, you just can't drive through high water. Know where you are in the world, what your elevation is if it's flooding. Know where the floodways are. Be safe. Because it's up to you to take care of your family. And if you're prepared and you can feed your family and you have the 11 steps of preparedness. It's on our website. We've got links here. There's a control journal. It's in our control journal. When you have the things taken care of that you need to have taken care of, your daily medications. You could get by without your supplements if you had to. But your daily medications, water, enough water for 2 days for each person in your house. The ability to drink water. I have some emergency, what are they called? They're straws that can filter water, which is great because we got creeks everywhere. So we could go down the creek and get a bucket of water, but you can't drink the water out of the creek. It's got to be filtered. So know what your emergency plan of action is. We have another tropical storm out in the Caribbean. It's headed this way. We just got through with one that went all the way up into New York. So you never know. And there was a huge storm that went across Minnesota this week. It's called a derecho, I think is what it is. But it was over 800 miles that it traveled, stirring up tornadoes and flooding like crazy. We had a storm this week. We got 2.5 inches of rain. It was a few days ago. 2.5 inches of rain in an hour. Imagine that. That was Sunday. So you have to be prepared to either stay home or to evacuate in an emergency. And having a red office in a bag that has your important papers in it, that is going to keep you. I don't think a Berkey will sanitize water like a life straw or a life filter. It's made for being out in the middle of nowhere and taking care of water that could have amoeba in it. that you could get a bad infection from. So folks, know where you are in the world. Know what emergencies happen. Learn, what it's like to live like Leanne does at 3,000 feet and what it's like in the wintertime. She's gone through one winter. Thank goodness we only had one snow that didn't last long. But we can have 3 feet of snow in a heartbeat. It can start snowing and it not stop for a day. And I've seen it and I've measured it. And I've measured it every hour. I put a yardstick up. So you got to be prepared to stay home and be able to cook. I'm trying, somebody saying something. I looked to see the name Esther. 1999 was written with marker on the inside. I don't recollect seeing that. Marla, you are very informative. I don't know why you had an Esther ornament. Don't have a clue. But pray for Esther and her family right now. She's a little scared, but she has her passports and she has her babies, and they have their shoes on and they're all sleeping in the bed with mommy. So just keep them safe. Keep them safe. And I want you to be safe too. I want you to be prepared in a storm, to be able to have a way to cook. We have a grill out on the porch now. We hadn't had a grill where we could cook outside, but we can cook outside. We have a fireplace. I can build a big fire in the wintertime, but we don't want to do that in the summertime because it's hot. So I love you all. Be prepared for the storms of life when you are. I have these little books. Let me grab one. These are old books. I read these books back when Justin was a baby. And she taught me how to be prepared, how to have food storage, have a pantry. Leanne has taught us that, to build a perpetual pantry. So you're able to, her name is Beverly Nye. And she wrote 3 books, and I found these on eBay, which are just wonderful. She was a great homemaker. I think she was from Utah, and she was an amazing homemaker. And she taught you how to have food storage and do the things you need to do to take care of your family. What do you think about the next shortages? Toilet paper. Well, I get a case of toilet paper every month, whether I need it or not. It goes on the shelf. I usually use about a case a month, if that. Robert used much less than I do. But the main thing is, we're not going to run out, and I have plenty to share. In fact, I took Leanne some this last time. So we're prepared. I just have it on standing order from Amazon, and it just gets delivered to the house. When you're prepared, you have a tendency to stay. You are calm, not a tendency to stay calm. You're totally calm. We didn't worry about not having any toilet paper. We didn't worry about not having any food when we couldn't go out during the pandemic or a snowstorm or whatever. We have food here to cook. We might not like eating it, but we're prepared. So be prepared. Take care of yourself. And when you have a freezer full of food is tough. Now, our freezer full of food is on our generator. But if you don't lock the door of your freezer, if you have an earthquake, it's liable to pop open. I'm bringing you plants tonight. Leanne says I'm always bring gifts. Well, she feeds us every week, so I have to do something. I have to be kind, to return the favor in some way. That's how it works when you're a friend. So folks, take care of your family. Be prepared. Know the emergencies you can have and what routes to take. Just be thankful. See y'all later. Bye.